NBA has always been more than just a game of buckets, banners, and buzzer bitters. Beneath the surface of stats and championships lies a world of deeply human moments that remind us this sport is as much about heart as it is about skill. In the first part of this series, we revisited one of the most powerful nights in basketball history, Kobe Bryant's unforgettable farewell, a 60-point masterpiece that closed with a mic drop and two words that still echo today: Mamba out. But that was only the beginning, because the truth is, some moments in the NBA go far beyond the box score. They carry real weight, viewed not just on what happened on the court, but on what it meant to everyone watching. In this second part, we look back on 5 more emotional moments that moved fans, players, and the entire basketball world. And what better way to start than Derrick Rose's comeback? There was a time when Derrick Rose wasn't just great, he was the future. He was the youngest MVP in league history, and he was a force to be reckoned with. D. Rose was a Chicago kid playing for the Bulls, flying down the court with reckless grace. He was explosive, untouchable, and dare I say, electric, but something happened. All of these came crashing down so unexpected. First, there was a torn ACL, then a torn meniscus, and he had to get back-to-back surgeries. It was bad for business. So he got traded, and fans began to forget how much of a player he was on the court. He literally went from MVP chance to minimum contracts, and the decline was crazy to see. By 2018, Derrick Rose wasn't a star or even a starter. All he was trying to do was stay in the league. That same year, the craziest thing happened. On October 31st, 2018, Rose turned back the clock against the Utah Jazz, and it was glorious to see. He showed the whole world that he still had those layups, floaters, crossovers, and threes. Boy, he was everywhere. Every bucket felt like a memory, and every play was a reminder of how great a player he is. By the final buzzer, he hit 50 points, a career high, and the team's win sealed it up. But forget the box score. It was what happened after the game that made it unforgettable. Rose broke down in tears. His teammates mocked him, and the crowd roared. The commentators were having a field day, and social media exploded because this was the redemption arc that everybody wanted to see. It wasn't about numbers, it was about a man who had been through it all, standing tall once again. And it didn't even matter if it was just for one night. And speaking of comebacks, this next moment isn't about points scored. It's about a legacy raised to the heavens. Kobe was the heart of the Lakers, and he was one of the players everyone respected. But what happens when it's no longer a walking living legend? Of course, the NBA in general had to celebrate him one last time. Some moments freeze time, and January 26, 2020 was one of them. The world stood still when the news broke. Kobe Bryant, along with his daughter Gianna and 7 others, had died in a helicopter crash. It didn't feel real or like it couldn't be. Kobe was invincible, forever, and suddenly he was gone. The NBA didn't just lose a legend. It lost a father, a mentor, and a symbol of relentless greatness. And there was no way he was going to go out that way. Days later, the Lakers returned to Staples Center. Not for a game, but for a memorial. There were no fireworks, no fanfare, just silence. A single spotlight shone on 2 empty courtside seats, draped with Kobe and Gigi's jerseys. Roses lay gently over them, and the numbers 8 and 24 lit up the hardwood. The entire building held its breath. Then came LeBron. He stepped to the mic and delivered a raw, powerful, and speech. There were no notes, no script, just pain, and as his voice cracked, he made his speech from his heart. And as his voice cracked, he just realized that this was more than basketball. Players were wiping their tears, and the fans were holding on to every word as they saw it. And when the crowd erupted in Kobe's chants, it didn't sound like cheering. It sounded like a farewell. The kind you only give to somebody who gave you everything. And while that loss left a hole that can never be filled, the next story shows how deep strength can go even when your heart is shattered. This was basically the story when Isaiah Thomas played after the death of his sister. It was April 15, 2017. The NBA playoffs were about to begin, and the Boston Celtics were at the top of the Eastern Conference. Spirits were high and the city was buzzing, but nobody knew what was coming. tragedy hits the team. Just one day before Game 1, Isaiah Thomas's 22-year-old sister China was killed in a car accident. There was no warning, and there was definitely no time to process it. It was straight up heartbreaking. For most people, playing a game after that would be unthinkable, but Isaiah stood it up anyway. And that night, he walked into the garden carrying the weight of the imaginable pain. And somehow, he still stepped onto the court. He didn't say much. I mean, he didn't have to. Everybody knew what he was going through. Later that night, he played through the pain and dropped 33 points in one of the most emotionally raw performances the league has ever seen. There was grief in every game he played, and every shot he made felt like it did everything he had. And when he sat on the bench, head down, towel over his face, it was hard not to break him. The crowd gave him a standing ovation. His teammates rallied around him, and even opposing players paid their respects. At that moment, Isaiah Thomas wasn't just a point guard. He was a big brother trying to hold it together. If Isaiah gave us a glimpse of strength through grief, this next moment was a full masterclass in it because Monty Williams' ability after his wife's passing was one that breaks hearts. You see, Monty Williams wasn't just a respected NBA coach. He was known as one of the kindest, most genuine people in the league. And then, in the blink of an eye, everything changed. His wife, Ingrid Williams, was killed in a tragic car accident. And 5 children were suddenly without a mother, and Monty without a best friend. The NBA world grieved with him. And then came the funeral, and a eulogy that no one saw coming. It was a rare one because Monty didn't take the stage to ask why. He didn't stand up there consumed by anger or sorrow. Instead, he showed the world what real grace looks like. He spoke with clarity and strength and said the sweetest message anyone grieving could say. Everybody's praying for me and my family, which is right. But let us not forget there were 2 people in this situation. And that family needs prayers too. He was referring to the other driver, the one responsible for the crash. In the middle of his unimaginable loss, Monty Williams extended grace. And I tell you that there wasn't a dry eye in the beauty. And for everyone watching, it was more than just a eulogy. Now, this moment taught us about grace, but this final one taught us about legacy and the weight of love between a father and a son. What better way to end this part than with Michael Jordan's hardest days ever? In 1996, Michael Jordan had already conquered basketball. He had multiple championships, MVPs, and global superstardom. He was the guy in the standard. But in 1993, everything stopped. His father, James Jordan, was murdered during a robbery. It was an unthinkable loss that rocked MJ's world. They weren't just close, they were always present and they were inseparable. James had been at almost every game and every championship. Shortly after his death, Jordan shocked the world and left basketball. But in 1996, 3 years later, Jordan was back. And he wasn't just back like that. He was back, older and wiser, but still the fiercest competitor alive. That year, he led the Chicago Bulls to one of the greatest seasons in NBA history, 72 wins. The finals were the final step, and it was Game 6, a game held on Father's Day. MJ scored 22 points, grabbed 9 rebounds, and led the Bulls to their 4th title. As glorious as all this sounds, when the final buzzer sounded, something happened we rarely saw from Jordan. He collapsed and sobbed and clung to the game ball. It felt like he was letting out years of pain, grief, and relief in one unforgettable release. It wasn't just a title. It was a title he dedicated to the man who brought him there. That moment reminded us that even the greatest of all time carries heartbreak. Even superheroes grieve, and sometimes the biggest wins carry the heaviest weight. These weren't just games, they were moments that transcended the court. They're proof that basketball isn't just about stats or wins, it's about people. Behind every highlight is a story, and sometimes behind every win, there's a loss. So tell us, which moment hit you the hardest? If your heart can take it, stay tuned for the next part. Or if you need a break from the emotions, click the next video to watch the funniest NBA moments, because if the league can make you cry, it can definitely make you laugh too. We'll see you there.